And we're back with episode 3 of Dog Football Weekly. It's your host, Reed, with your co host
Russ.
and special guest today.
Daniel Sapp.
Daniel is a state champion wrestler on really talented team. Daniel, how you feel about the team this year?
Um, I'm feeling pretty good. Um, we lost a bunch of seniors, but other than that, we got a really key wrestler, Julian Berrigan. He's really brought our team together and made us a better team. So yeah, I'm feeling good about it.
I hear he's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, obviously, you're a huge Dogs fan, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, going into this season, what were your expectations heading into the season?
You know, they really surprised me on how our younger players have stepped up this year. Um, yeah, our team has really came together and just became a better team. Thought I was going to be worse than last year, but proved us wrong.
We came out of the gate, and we came out and beat Oregon, and I figured our team was gonna suck. I thought we weren't gonna be no good. Losing all those players to the draft ended up being pretty good, and you know they blew me away this year.
Here's my hot take for you. This year's Georgia team, regardless of Monday night, beat last year's team. They'll beat them 10 times. They'll beat them 7 times out of 10. And if they played right now, I'd make them a touchdown favorite. The resiliency of this team is something I haven't seen from any Georgia team before. I mean, you cannot tell me that Ohio State game did not remind you of that SEC championship game last year with Bryce Young. But that offense battled back, and the defense found a way at the end.
I think you're right, Reed. I don't know if it'd be a touchdown, but I think it'd be really close. Some people are saying this year's better. I don't know if that's right or not, but I think it'd be a really good game. You know, last year we had a bunch of older players, but this year we got a bunch of dogs, and I think that'll make up for those older players.
And I think they're gonna develop really nicely into the older guys that we saw last year, and hopefully we'll continue to dominate as we go year after year.
Well, my dad said last year after the national championship, we're talking, and I said there's no way Georgia could repeat. They lose too many guys. And he said, based off recruiting, if you had to pick two schools to go back to the national championship next year, who would it be? And he said Georgia and Alabama. And he said Georgia's going to be back in it next year. I called him crazy. I told him we're going to have a good team, but a young team. And, you know, kudos to him. He was right.
Yeah.
But enough about the dogs. Let me, boys, first off, do you guys think TCU has a shot heading into next week?
I think they have a big shot. Their main thing that when I was watching that Michigan game, I saw, I talked about the crossing routes yesterday. Their crossing routes, I mean, that's a big part of their offense, and you know, their passing game is really good. Run game, a little shaky. I talked about their leading rusher being out, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think our safeties really need to pick up the pace and help guard those crossing routes because our corners are not doing the job right now. And you know, Keely Ringo, he's so stiff. He's got to loosen up and be able to run across the field with a corner with a receiver. So I think if we can get those safeties, I think we need Tyke Smith to step up and start playing some. We haven't seen him in a while, and I think I think if we get him and uh
Christopher Smith,
yeah, I think if we get them and
Javon Bullard.
yeah, all of them, they just step up, make some plays. I think it can really hurt their offense.
Tyke was an All American at West Virginia, second team All American. Obviously, last year missed due to injury, but I mean, he was a big guy in the transfer portal that Georgia picked up. I'd love to see him step up and make some plays for this team. But let me read you guys some statistics on TCU. They have 11 guys selected to the All Big 12 first or second team. They are fifth in scoring offense. They are fifth in defensive scores. They are they have 30 total sacks as a team. They've only given up 24 sacks, and they have a really high turnover margin. But at the same time, listen to some of these weaknesses that I saw today reading up on them. They're 64th in points allowed, 80th in total defense. They are 69th in red zone offense, which I thought was really interesting because they had the fifth highest scoring offense in the country. And in comparison, Georgia's number one in red zone offense. I mean, they convert Lord willing every time, really field goals and touchdowns. But TCU struggled offensively in the red zone. They're 70th in rushing defense. And the defensive front, they run that 3-3-5. There's not a lot of big names. But really, their pass rush kind of reminds me of Georgia's, except they don't have that guy in the middle. They have the same amount of team sacks as Georgia does. Obviously, I would take Georgia's front over theirs just because Georgia plays in the SEC, and I'm biased about the SEC, but I think it's the best conference in the world, and you can debate me all day about it.
No, I'm with you. I think we gotta with that 3-3 offense. I think we gotta spread their linebackers out and their safeties and cornerbacks. But I think if we do that and start running the ball, they're not gonna be able to stop us. Because once we get running with Dejon Edwards and Kendall Milton and Kenny McIntosh, they're not gonna be able to stop us.
And then you can hit them with the play action
Yeah.
and catch them off. Hit a little over the middle pass.
Well, this team's strength on defense is really their speed. They have really fast linebackers. D. Winters, he's not a guy that's been talked about a whole lot for TCU. He's a great linebacker. I watched a lot of video on him. He can really play. They obviously have LaDainian Tomlinson, Hall of Fame running back. His nephew is Thorpe Award winner in the DBs. He's an All American corner. They're going to be a team. The defense is not very good, but they're opportunistic and they will make plays and step up. And Ohio State's defense, they weren't a very good defense, but Georgia was 2 for 10 on third down. We have to convert on third downs going into this week. Third down is the biggest play of the week for the Dogs and the Horned Frogs because both teams really aren't that good on third down.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially on those third downs, I think Stetson has to step up this week and make those plays where he has to make some good passes and maybe even be able to scramble out of the pocket and get that first down. Like he didn't even I don't even know if he had one scramble out the pocket and get yards off running. And I think if we do that and open up the field, I think it's over.
I just think there's too much talent on that Georgia team, too much depth as far as they just have so many guys. And one of the things I love most about this offense this season is how balanced everything is. Balance is a key for this Georgia offense. 10 different guys caught a pass, or I think 10 different guys had over 20 yards receiving. And it seems like every week you have a different guy step up in that receiving group. Obviously, there's no we all know their names, but to the outside onlooker, they're like, well, they only throw it to Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington sometimes gets the football, and they don't know a single thing. But Georgia really has some talented guys in Lad McConkey, Arian Smith, Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint, um,
Harris Jackson.
the Bell kid,
Yeah.
Kyrus Jackson. Kyrus Jackson's a guy who I'd love to see get the football more. He's great in space, and he's a really fast guy. Made a huge play late in that football game. Really happy for him.
Can we talk about Rosemy Jack Saint, how he stepped up this year and become one of our best receivers when Adonai Mitchell got hurt?
The Donnie Mitchell injury, obviously not it was a week to week thing, so nobody was just coming out and wow, I can't believe we're missing this guy because you never knew when he was going to play. But Rosemy Jack Saint was a guy, highly recruited out of high school, freshman year, breaks his ankle in that Florida game, really nasty injury. But he was he's been a guy who is plagued by injuries, kind of like Arian Smith. You never really get to see all he's got to show you. But he's really stepped up this year. I love watching him play. I think he's a great receiver. You know, he kind of reminds me just his like body, his figure. It almost looks like George Pickens on the field. He obviously doesn't have the height of George Pickens, but he's got great hands and he's a crisp route runner. Another guy in that receiving room who stepped up is Dominic Blaylock. He obviously after last, two ACL tears. I didn't know if he was even going to come back and play football, and now look at him. He's making. He made a huge catch on a third down early in that football game, where really he was not open on that route. Was. He just became open.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Georgia's receivers. I'm really worried about TCU's Quentin Johnson. To me, when I watch him play, he plays a little bit like Marvin Harrison Jr. Just the way they use him in that offense. And if Georgia doesn't step up and the corners don't make some plays, and Chris Smith over the top doesn't make some plays, he's going to be a big problem for the Georgia defense.
Yeah, I think a key too is not leaving any space for Quentin Johnson to get open and catch the ball because Duggan does have a really good deep threat ball, and also Quentin Johnson averages 18 yards a reception. That's pretty impressive. So if we really got to stop those long passes like Marvin Harrison had against us, but I think if we do that, I mean, I think we shut their offense down.
He's really like Darnell Washington in a receiver. He's a game breaker. He's a tough guy to cover. He's 6'4". His numbers against Michigan, it was like 6 catches for 161 yards. That's close to 30 yards a catch. Really, I mean, he's a really more like yeah, it's about 30 yards a catch. He's one of those guys that you know he may be quiet for 3 quarters of the football game, and he just might go crazy in the fourth quarter. And I just really think this Georgia defense, you know, almost like if they could keep him in front of you and then make plays on the football instead of letting him get over the top because Max Duggan has great deep ball accuracy.
Yeah, yeah, I think Max Duggan is really gonna decide the game for TCU. He's either gonna play his best game or he's gonna turn the ball over twice and hand the game to Georgia.
I
Yeah.
don't.
I think the main thing with Max Duggan is not leaving open space and allowing him to get downhill. Because if he gets downhill, starts running the ball, I don't know how we're going to stop him. Just like CJ Stroud had that one big play on the last drive of the game, getting them in field goal range. That's one of our biggest problems we've had over the years is leaving open space and allowing them to quarterbacks to get out and run the ball.
He's my biggest concern, not as a passer. I'm more worried about how do you contain him as a runner because obviously we've talked about it the past 2 days, Nolan Smith's injury, and you know whoever's playing that edge, you have to have guys set that edge constantly the whole entire night. And Max Duggan, he's kind of he's not as good of an athlete as CJ Stroud. He's kind of like Stetson Bennett as a runner. He has deceptive speed. He can really deceive you in how fast he is. Jaden Daniels was the same way. He's a lot faster than what a defense thought. And it only takes one big play, guys. One big play. And I mean, if Georgia does not come out and jump on TCU, they're going to jump on them. Somebody's going to jump on somebody in that first quarter.
Yeah, no.
And
The same way with the Ohio State game. Once they got going, they were rolling. We couldn't stop them.
and momentum's going to be a huge factor. And with a team like TCU, their defense really feeds off of their offense, and their offense is the same way. So if Georgia goes stagnant on offense, odds are TCU's offense is going to come out and they're going to be fired up, ready to make big plays. And I mean, who says Georgia's going to stop them? They have I mean, Georgia didn't show it against Ohio State.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think just the same way. I think we gotta balance out our offense and defense on the field because I'm worried about one side of the football staying on the field too much and getting tired. That's kind of what happened in the Ohio State game. Ohio State was on offense for majority of the game, and our defense just got really tired.
yeah. We just a big part of that is just controlling the line of scrimmage and moving down the field. both both our offense and defense really have to step up and make plays this week, and everybody knows that. But you know, we got to hold TCU.
Really, the big plays are what kills this Georgia defense because they're a great run team defensively. They stop the run and really they force you to throw the football. But next week, if Georgia can eliminate not all because big plays are a part of football. Obviously, TCU may break one, a few big plays here and there, but if Georgia can force them to try and drive the football on them because it's impossible against that defense. That defense is too big, too fast, and too physical compared to that TCU team. And if you shut down, which their running attack is pretty darn good. If Kendre Miller, if he's healthy, he's going to be a problem. But if they can come out and shut him down, it'll make the game a lot easier for the Bulldogs.
I agree, and we've asked everybody what their score predictions were for this week, and we
Mr.
want to know
Sapp,
yours,
what do
Mr.
you
Sapp.
think?
Um, you know, I don't know. I think TCU gets ball first. I think we stop them. They go 3-and-out. I think we drive down the field and get a touchdown. And I think it's our first quarter. I think we go up 17-0 the first quarter. And honestly, I think we control the whole entire first half. And just kind of like the LSU game where they get most of their points in the fourth quarter, where we've just been absolutely dominating the game. And I think Georgia really steps it up. And I'm going score prediction. I'm going 45-14, Georgia.
I like that.
You heard mine yesterday. Obviously, if you listened to episode 2, 38-17. Um, I think that first quarter is going to be a huge quarter for the Bulldogs. But we saw it against Ohio State. I still feel confident, even if Georgia's down multiple scores heading into the fourth, because the resiliency on this team is there's it's not comparable to any other team in college football. And for years we saw this team have big leads against in big time games against teams like Alabama, and you saw them give it up at the end because Alabama just would not quit fighting. And I think Coach Smart has done a phenomenal job with this group, especially and last year's group. And it doesn't matter who you're playing, and it doesn't matter what the score is. They're going to give 100% effort every single play, and I don't think you can ask much more than that out of the group. And if they're giving 100% and they're confident in themselves, who's going to stop them? TCU's not.
I agree.
Well, that's going to be it for today's episode of Dog Football Weekly. We'd like to thank Daniel Sapp for today. Thank you, Mr. Sapp.
You're welcome.
Folks, we'll be back again tomorrow. See ya.